workouts, how to develop a pool workout. So one of the changes that you'll make is you're going to start off by doing longer warm-ups. You're also going to design your sets first by distance, then by duration. All right. So, for example, your warm-ups are going to be a lot longer. Your repeats in a set are going to be longer, and you're going to be working up the duration of that swim more and more as you go. You'll be repeating, say, 400s. Then you'll eventually get up to, 500s, 600s. Then you'll be repeating 800s. Then you'll repeat 1000s. Then you'll repeat 1500s. And, if you can only do two, at least there'll be two 1500s, back to back with minimal rest in between. And that trains the body and the mind to be able to go that distance a little bit longer. All right. Then you're going to be doing it by time. How fast, Monday we did a set where we went two 1500s. And the 1500s, we were able to do it on this amount of time. Now we want to do three 1000s, and we want to be faster than the time it took to do the two 1500s. If we added up the time of the two 1500s and then added up the time for the three 1000s, you would want that three 1000s to be faster. So you're just playing a game, with the training, but you're trying to get the distance up, the duration longer, and the time shorter to do that duration and that distance. The body has to be able to go the distance in order to be able to go the distance. All right, now that sounds like a nonsensical comment, but think about it. Let me say it real slow. The body has to be able to go the distance in order to be able to go the distance. So if I'm thinking 5K and I want my swimmer to be able to go a 5K, then I've got to train the body to be able to go a 5K. I can't just throw the swimmer in and say, hey, today we're going to do a 5K, and then expect some kind of miracle that swimmer is going to be really good at it. So I have to train them to be able to go that 5K in order for them to go a really good 5K, or at least be successful in completing it. And I would caution you the set the expectations correctly. So, for example, most of our best swimmers, our world champions, our Olympic swimmers, they all started off never having done an open water swim. Michael Phelps started off by not knowing how to swim. Then he learned how to swim. Then he learned, how to be excited about his swimming, how to train well. Then he was trained properly. Then, it's a stepping stone all the way to the point where he's become arguably the best, swimmer in the history of swimming. And we've got a couple of swimmers that aren't too far behind him. You want to make sure that you're training them correctly and setting the right expectation. The first swim, just go out there and complete it. They'll learn an awful lot about that swim, how to better, I went out too fast. I couldn't sustain it. Well, we won't do that again, or I went out too slow and I had way too much left and I could have been competitive. Well, we won't do that again. And eventually they learn how to adjust and be able to do that swim, but then they have the confidence to be able to do that swim. So if it's a 5K, at least once every week, I would have swimmers go, so if it's a 5K, I would start off with a 3000 straight once a week. Then I would build it up to where they go, a 4000 straight. If you can get to 4000 and sit that swimmer down and say, all right, we just went 4000. Do you think you could go another 1,000? Oh yeah, coach, I could go another 1,000. Okay, then you've tackled the mentality of I can't do one. I can't do a 5,000. They just told you themselves I can do the 5,000 because you might have to remind them when they get there and they've got to start doing the race. You overcome all of that lack of confidence, and you build that up as well because you're not just building the body, you're building the mind. I would tell you that more than you think, open water swimming is a mind race. You have to overcome cold water, wind, um, sun, heat. You overcome all of that. Those are things that you're not necessarily exposed to in the pool, um, as much because it can change on a dime. So preparing them to go the distance in order to be able to go the distance. You will be leading them to be able to do the distance with less and less rest and eventually no rest at all. So this is one way to do it in the pool to prepare them for a swim that, you've got no walls. So you take the rest away. Let's say I'm going 10 100s and the interval is, 130 um, for each of the hundreds. And they're coming in at 115. Right. Eventually I'm going to bring that down to 125. Then I'm going to bring it down to 120. And then eventually we're going to be down to the 115. Hopefully by then they're actually going 110s, holding 110s, and then 105s, and so on. So this is great training for the pool, but it's also preparing them for open water. So uh, you want to eventually bring that down to where they're just going a straight swim. And you want to test them. It's like, hey, coach, I can't make this interval. Then go straight. You know, there are times when you would say, hey, if you miss, we're going to take a break. You'll skip one and then get back on the interval and try and hold that interval again for as long as you can. That's great pool training, right? But as you prepare for open water, sometimes you might say, hey, if you miss the interval, thing from that point forward is going to be straight. All right, so we provide a motivation for them not to miss the interval. But if they do, they're going to be swimming very fast, straight. That's great open water swimming. It also is not a negative effect on their pool swimming. So, um, highly encourage you to throw in sets like this. Once you have achieved this level, you're going to be able to add more distance to the total. So, again, if all you are doing in a workout is 3,000 meters, number one, I would tell you on an elite level, you're not preparing that athlete to swim on an elite level, but you certainly aren't preparing them for an open water swim. You're going to have to dedicate more time. That swimmer is going to have to be, um, prepared to go further, spend more time in the water, and that's going to help. Um, adjust their mentality as well as their physicality. All right. If they are going a 10K, they should be going about 14,000 daily. All right. Now, this is not set in stone. This is just setting up my thinking of the way I would train athletes. Again, if they're in the pool, depending on the time of the season, this may or may not fit in. But if you're preparing them for a 10K and that's the sole focus, right? Going 14K is pretty much the way to go. All right. You need to be able to train up to swim down. And For the shorter events, you can be a lot closer to training at that level or at that distance. But for, a distance event, it's always easier to train up to swim down. All right. Number one, it builds the confidence in the swimmer to be able to, hey, it's like we said, if they go a 5K swim, they'll approach a 1500 a whole lot different. If they're going 14K to do a 10K, they're going to know that's 4K that I don't have to do. And I do 14K, 10K is going to be nothing. Having that approach uh, is a heck of a lot better in preparing an athlete to do well than all I do is a 3K a day. And now I got to do a 10K. I don't even know if I can make it. Right. There's a complete difference there. All right. And the elite athletes are doing this. All right. They're prepared to go that kind of swimming. Now, obviously, you can go much less than that during certain segments of training, but at your peak volume, you should be at a 14K. Right? If they are going to go farther than that, they need to be doing farther, doing more distance than they will be swimming. All right. Um, at a certain point when they were doing mega distances, um, they were getting actually training by doing the swims. The swims weren't, as high a quality in terms of how fast they were swimming. But if you're doing a 25K, that's like two workouts all in one 4 or 5 hours period of time. So they were getting some training in simply by doing the swimming, the racing, right? And then they had to back that up in between the events. Most swimmers back in the day when this was first starting off would go from event to event to event. Um, they had to spend an awful lot of time recovering. That'll be the next thing is, making sure that once they do a swim, that you allow some recovery. The best way to recover after a swim like that is about a half hour. Within a half hour, they go back into a pool and do some warm down. And I don't mean some passive, easy warm down, but actually some fast swimming that allows that lactic acid to move out of the body. It'll help them recover a whole lot quicker. Also, in terms of recovery after a swim, make sure that they're taking in some kind of food like a granola bar, something that is consumable, healthy, but all inside of a half hour window. If they miss that half hour window, recovery is going to be a whole lot slower. But getting that digestive system back on track also use the brain to be able to start replenish and refuel the body that's been depleted during the swim. It'll make things a whole lot easier. The next couple of days, you can expect that obviously there's going to be some fatigue, but the more they do this, the better they get trained for it, and the recovery is actually a whole lot quicker. And it's not something that impedes even their pool workouts. What would be the racing strategy? All right, at the start of an open water swim, it's going to be extremely fast. I mean, really, really fast because everybody's going to be jockeying and positioning themselves for the race. Um, you'd be surprised at how in tune athletes are with who they're swimming with and their surroundings. It gets sharper the more experience that they have. So the start will be very, very, very fast. They will then settle into a pace. All right. Fast at first, and then it's going to be slowing down into a steady pace. Then there's going to be some speed play. And by this, it's going to be trying to break the pack by doing fast and slow pacing. Um, Almost every race, you'll see swimmers in the front, they'll start to speed up and then they'll slow down. Speed up, slow down. There's a couple of things that are going on during this time. Number one, it's a mind game, right? Every swimmer wants to have, well, every swimmer's got a pool background and they want everything just set so. They got lane lines, they got a wall that they know is a certain distance, they've got a block to jump off of, it's a certain, size. Um, they've got timers, they've got officials there to call in infractions. Uh, Everything is set just so. So if you take that mentality and you put it into open water where none of that exists, it can really frustrate a lot of athletes. If they're pacing off of you and you go fast, well, then they've got to go fast. And then all of a sudden you slow down and they start running into the back of your feet. And next thing you know, they're going, what the heck is going on? And then all of a sudden you speed up. Well, now you got them thinking about what the heck you're doing instead of focusing in on what they're doing. And for them, that can be very frustrating. If that's part of your race strategy, you that's you. That's how you're swimming the race. So it's not affecting you at all, right? But oftentimes they will shake off inexperienced swimmers by going slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast. They may even go to the, veer to the left and then veer to the right and then veer back into the middle just to throw people off. And, it's no different than in the pool if somebody takes off really, really fast and they hope they can hang on. Well, that might throw somebody off who's even keel and they're going to just pace their way through the race. If they get too far out in front, they're thinking, "Hey, I got to go," I and it just throws them out of their game. So it's a mind game. The other thing that'll do is it also, if you've got a background in distance swimming, I remember if I would settle too slow in a pace for too long, at the time that I thought, hey, I haven't been working too hard. Now I ought to be able to get on it. And then as soon as I wanted to jump on it, I couldn't because my body is telling me, hey, don't don't mess this up. We're feeling good right where we are. And it just doesn't want to go. Right. So an open water swimmer will change the pace so the body remembers, oh yeah, I'm in a race. I gotta go sometimes. Right. And it just keeps you alert. Settling into the pace is what will happen, shortly thereafter the start, which will be very fast, as we said. Back to normal pacing and preparing for the finish. You have to consider this. So in a 5K race, we'll just call it an hour, right? For a 10K, it'll be 2 hours. Elite athletes are going to be a little bit faster than that. You know, some not elite athletes, it'll be slower than that. So when I say the start will be very, very fast, you have to understand it's not like a 200. So we're not talking about a 25 or a 50 is going to be very fast, and then it's not going to be from that point on. This is going to be pretty fast, and it's all relative. So fast in open water swimming, it's not the same as fast in the pool. It's not an all-out sprint because they've got another 4K left. They've got another 4.5K left. Everything is relative. They'll be settling into a pace for a period of time. Now, there'll be some speed play during that. Then there'll be some normal swimming. And then just really kind of feeling the crowd out, the pack that you're with. Right. Then it'll start to build. And that's getting ready for the final sprint. And again, everything is relative. It's not the same as a sprint in the 50. I caught myself when I was coaching, yelling to our open water swimmers, sprint, sprint, and somebody looked over at me and they thought I was joking. Obviously, sprinting in a distance event, it's like, no, we're not going to go all out to the point where we die. No, sprint in open water or in a distance event just simply means give it what you got from the point here so that you're able to finish there fast as you possibly can, whatever you got left. So that takes that into account, right? Just as you get towards the finish, you'll start to get ready for that sprint, and then the finishing sprint is whatever you have left. All right, so let's break this down into a 5K. The first 500 meters to a K, to 1,000, is going to be very, very fast pace. Going to be trying to position yourself or within the pack, because obviously you want to be in that front pack and not set somewhere in the back where you're going to have to work extra hard in order to move up. But then also going to need to know if there are swimmers that tend to go out too fast and they're going to die, or if they go out, really fast and then potentially they're going to be the ones that are going to be in the lead and potentially medaling. The first 500 meters to a K are going to be really, really fast, up tempo. Then there's going to be settling into a pace. That settling in is going to be, in the range of 1,500 to the next, 3,500 to 4,000. Within that time period, you're going to have some speed play. You're also going to have just settling down and potentially changing of the guard. So if you're in the lead, most swimmers now, most of the elite athletes understand that it's like cycling, where you will see the lead swimmer pull the group, then they'll peel off and they'll go to the back, and the new swimmer will pull the group, because whoever's in front is pulling the group, right? And if they're in there and you're, slipstreaming behind them, you're gaining some or saving some energy. And so that swimmer may peel off and say, hey, somebody else take over. I'm taking a break here. And about, 3,500 to 4,000, that's when you're going to be starting to pick that pace up. And we want to weed off everybody else who's just been hanging on and aren't going to be serious at the end. They'll start falling back and back and back because maybe they settled in too comfortable. If you get too comfortable, you can't come out of it. Your body just says, hey, no, I think I'm going to sit back here and just enjoy right where we are, and we're not going any faster. So they want to get rid of them and then get down to the ones who are going to be serious racers at the finish and who's going for the medals. And then there'll be that final sprint.
Become a member of the International Swim Coaches Association and get access to the global library for ISCA members, and check out our open water swim events, which happen every September and May in Virginia.